In the heart of the forest, legends awaken from the shadows. The tales of Sasquatch echo through time, a mystery that remains unsolved.
As the smoke clears, the sign stands resolute, a beacon of intrigue. What secrets lie within the forest's depths? The quest for truth begins at Sasquatch Watch Radio. Here's Billy Willard and Gary Kendrick.
All right, welcome everybody to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is Monday, January 6th. Here we are in 2025. Here's our new season. We're glad that all of you could join us. We got a wonderful guest tonight, Luke Gross from Texas. Before I bring him on, let's pull a co-host in here. What's going on, Gary?
Hey, everybody. Hey, Billy. How are you?
I am doing just fine.
Are you surviving the snow apocalypse?
Yes. I spent about 2 hours out blowing about 10 inches of snow, so I think we'll be okay. All right. So, without further ado, we want to get our great guest in here tonight, Mr. Luke Gross from Texas. What's going on, Luke?
Y'all, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
So glad to have you. So good to have you on. So as we had spoke earlier, I've got Gary Kendrick. He is my researcher. The man is good at what he does. All right, I'm gonna embarrass you, Gary. So I've gotten so many emails about what a good interviewer Gary is, and I couldn't have picked a better host to do this show with. So Gary, it's all yours.
Billy, I appreciate it. Look, glad to have you on tonight. I know you've known Billy for quite a while. It's probably the first time we've ever met and spoke. I'm going to get right into it. Luke, can you tell us what happened in November of 1984?
Well, yeah, that's what started it all.
That's right.
I've hiked, let me put it this way, I've hiked all over the country. I hiked Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and in the deserts, in the mountains, and I pretty much thought I'd seen whatever kind of wildlife there was to be seen. Well, I come back to Texas, and just about 17 miles outside of Greenville, Texas, farmland, ranch land. You wouldn't think there's anything out there. Well, me and my wife and my daughter, we used to come out there to my mom's house from Dallas to visit her. And my wife had went to bed, my daughter had went to bed. I guess it was about 10, and my mom and I were sitting up watching TV. Well, it was November, but it was a nice November. She put the front door was open, and we was sitting there. I was sitting on the ground. She was sitting in her recliner. And my mom, she leans over and taps me on the shoulder. She said, "Hey, you see that?" And I leaned up and looked out that door. And on the right side of the front porch, there was something standing there. And she kept tons of cat food out there for cats. She had 15 cats. And so this thing, I scooted back. I got rug burns on my butt because I was in short pants. I got rug burns on my butt from scooting back so fast. This thing whips around, comes to the front door. It stands there just for a short while, and it kind of rocks like this. Then it turns and walks off the front porch. Scared me half to death. And I had no clue. And I'm sitting there. This ain't supposed to be here. This isn't supposed to be here. Not at all. And after that, that's what started it. But come to find out, over the years, things have been going on prior to that with my mom, and she'd never really talked to me about it. You know, stuff thrown at the house, knocks and bumps, and I found out later on, yeah, it was all true, because I spent the night out there when she'd been sick, and they'd come up and slap the side of the house or throw a rock. And I had my first sighting, and I had another sighting there in 2000. It was November of 2000, as a matter of fact. I had another sighting, and it was walking down. I was by myself. I'd walked out the front porch, come off the front porch, and started heading towards my house, which I'd moved out there. and just come behind a cedar tree. And when I got behind the cedar tree, I heard this sound. It was a swishing sound. I'd heard that sound before in Oklahoma. And so I kind of just snuck around, and my brother's little dog was right next to me. And I kind of snuck around the side of that tree, that cedar tree, and there was one walking to my left, walking down the fence line. It stopped, kind of went like this, and almost like it was going to cross the road, and it turned its head and it went away from me. I guess it was about 60 yards away. That was the most, there was no fear. I'd been researching for a while then, dealing with that stuff, and didn't scare me. It was a very passive encounter. And it was cool to be able to look at something like that and observe it and not be scared. You can take everything in. You can gather all the details, the physical details about it and what it was doing. And I marked a spot on a tree that was growing on the fence line, and it would have been about 8.5 feet tall. I went out and measured the next day.
That's a good.
And it was about 8.5 feet tall and real light colored, like the first one I had seen. Could it have been the same one? I don't know, but it was real cool.
Did you get a good close look at its facial features or anything like that? Could you describe it?
Nope, not the face. I've never seen their face. Never. The one that was on my mom's front porch, its head was above the front door, above the door. And it just seen the body from like here down. And the other one was walking away to the left. I couldn't see its face.
Well, that makes me give me a curious question. Do you think it saw you, the one that was on the front porch? The fact that its head was way up.
No, probably not. It probably knew it was there because when it was on the right side of the porch, kind of away from the door, and then it moved this way, and it probably knew we were there. They were so used to being around there. There was that it was a habituation, and it took place for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
I mean, continuously. And then, but that goes into a total different subject when you start talking about habituations. Now, when I first started, somebody would have said habituation, I would have laughed at them. And I would have said, no, there's no such thing. But I was way wrong. And I'll be the first to admit it. I was very wrong. Because they do.
Yeah.
I've got some questions about habituations that we'll get into later on in the show, if you don't mind.
Okay. That's cool.
I know you said it was light in color. Do you think it was like a tan, brown?
Khaki
Color.
Almost like a cardboard box or a pair of khaki breeches.
What about that? I've never heard that color described before.
Yeah. Well, I kind of took it as the area this is. There's a lot of farmland, lots of farmland. And there's creeks. There was a 50-acre lake across the street. And a lot of dry grass, hay that's around there. And the color blended perfectly. Perfectly with the grass and the hay. And so as far as camouflage, it could have just dropped to the ground and you never would have seen it. It would blended in with the grass. And
I know a lot of people, they automatically go to black. Oh, it was black. In my encounter, in my sighting, it was kind of a cinnamon brown color, kind of reddish brown. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
But I've heard a lot of different. I've heard white. I've heard brown. Black is one that I don't hear a whole lot of, especially back here where I live at, because black sticks out pretty much against the forest.
Oh yeah.
So it would be pretty visible. But that's the first time I've ever heard khaki. That's pretty neat. That's pretty neat.
It was, and I'd heard, and I'd never heard of it that color. Maybe tan, but not such a light color like khaki. But and this, like I said, the second one that I seen on the fence line out there, same color.
Wow.
So either it was the same one or offspring of that one. I don't know.
I was going to ask if you thought that might have been the same one. It was what, about 16, 17 years between encounters?
Yep, it was a while. But there were so many things that happened out there that it was just an amazing place to go visit. And my son, he had seen one there on the fence row about 10 o'clock at night. He was 12, and my aunt was visiting my mom, and I always taught them, I said, before you go into somebody's house, you knock on the door. He said, okay. Well, he didn't. He come around and he hit the door, and he just slung the door open. He's going, Daddy, 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 Daddy. And I just looked at him and I said, well, where'd you see it? And he says, oh, no, I'm not going back out there. I'm not going back out there. And he's seen one walking right down the fence row. And I've experienced so much over there. And after I moved out there behind my mom's house and my brother's, he was on the same property. Things happened at my house too. So
now this is in eastern Texas, correct?
Northeast Texas, it's east of Dallas, off Interstate 30, outside of Greenville, and in between Greenville and Sulphur Springs. But yeah, and you could drive out there, and nobody would expect them to live there. But they're a lot of times people are mistaken. If there's food available and if there's water available, they're going to be there. Not at all places, but if there's any type of cover, heck, they've been seen, and I know you guys have heard this in rural areas, up around industrial areas, in forested areas around that, and if there's food there, they can live there and they can survive.
Yeah,
it's a pretty They're an incredible species of animal. They really are.
Luke, my next question is a good one. I want to know, have you ever used a pair of stilts to simulate the height of a Bigfoot?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
Yeah. Well, I did a conference for Robert Dominguez, and I wanted to give a kind of a representation of the height of what I had seen my first encounter. And so I got behind closed doors, and I put on my stilts, and Bob introduced me, and I walked out walking a pair of stilts. It made me just about 8'5" when I walked out of the door. And it was pretty fun. And I explained to everybody, this is why I'm on stilts, is because this is the height that this Bigfoot was that I seen. And it was a pretty cool experience.
You're a braver man than I am. I don't think I'd have tried it.
I walked them for a long time. I sure did.
Did you do drywall work?
Do what?
Did you do drywall work?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Drywall work, bed and texture. Oh, yeah. So it was kind of a secondary thing for me to do.
Yeah.
I've never tried it. I'm always, if I have to do drywall, I stand on a bucket.
Yeah. Well, now they got these guys out there. Go ahead. I didn't mean.
No, go ahead, Luke. Go ahead. No, you ain't interrupting me.
These guys are out there putting 2 pairs of stilts, which is all the way up, and that puts them about 10 feet up, just the stilts alone. And if they're 5 feet, that makes them 15 feet tall. And then they're strapping 5-gallon buckets under the bottom of these stilts and walking around on them, working.
I like them guys that work on those cathedral ceilings, and then they'll set up 2 ladders, put a board across there and on there with stilts. I'm like, you guys are nuts.
Yeah, well, you could call me crazy. I used to do it too, Billy.
Oh, it's wild now. When you get into construction work, there's some wild stuff that goes on.
There's a lot of wild stuff.
I watched, I know this is kind of off topic, but I worked a little bit out in California in some construction. And there was a little old bitty Mexican guy that did drywall work on one job that we was at. And he had like 4 or 5-gallon buckets.
Right.
And he stacked up and taped together. And he had a piece of string and holes drilled in the top one, and he just slipped his feet in it, and he'd walk around like that. And I mean, that cat couldn't have been. He might have been 4'5" or something. He was little. He's a beast on them buckets.
Heck yeah. Heck
Luke,
yeah.
I've got another question here. Have you ever experienced infrasounds, and what is your thoughts on infrasound?
Well, I believe I have. I remember it's one of the first areas I'd researched. It was up around Cooper Lake, and I knew somebody who lived up there. My ex-wife had a friend, and her friend told her, I've had something circling around my house at night, kind of around the outer fence she had. And it was pretty much in the country, and she built a new house there. And so we'd got, I told her, so, well, let me go out there and I'll talk to her. And I had some recordings of some things vocalizations I recorded, and I played them for her. And I played an owl and some different wildlife sounds. Then I played the Bigfoot sounds. And she goes, well, that's what I heard right there. I said, oh, okay. Well, anyway, we were researching out there, and we had so much stuff going on. She had a barn we could set up in, had a balcony, and we'd set all of our equipment up on the balcony. And so one night I heard something pretty big coming through a creek to the left. And there was a tin horn in a road with gravel on it that the creek water ran through. Well, I said, well, I'm going to go over there. So I grabbed my shotgun. I went out to kill anything, it was just for protection. And I walked over there, and just when I got to that tin horn, it felt like somebody threw a wet blanket over me. Boom. And I just stopped. I couldn't move. I said, whoa, what is this? It was warm, and you felt warm, and you just froze. And all of a sudden I hear this thing going tearing brush up going through the creek. So I think that I would call that infrasound, because there's nothing else, because I didn't hear it, not unless it was an instinct. I think we all have instincts that kick in when we're out in the woods and we have things around us, and this could have been an instinct, but this just stopped me in my tracks. I couldn't go any further. Excuse me, but yeah, I think I've experienced. I've known several other people that's experienced, and it's made them sick,
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
And but I do think it exists. I do think they can do it, because I've heard some of their vocalizations, their deep guttural growls, and it's low enough to create infrasound as
Yep.
far as I'm concerned.
Yep. Yep.
It rattles
cool.
it rattles in your chest. You can feel it in your chest and your
Absolutely.
stomach. And that's hard to explain to somebody that's never experienced it.
Hmm.
When something growls or makes some type of aggressive sound or whatever, and it's strong enough that you can feel it,
Hmm.
that's intimidating. It
Oh
is.
yeah, it is. I've got a story, but I'd have to. It's long, and I would have to read it to you. It was about a vocalization. No, it wasn't a vocalization. It was a roar, and it rattled you. It was so loud, and it just, you could feel it vibrating in your chest. And there was a boat on the river. I don't know, probably 200 yards from us. Well, this boat, whoever was on this boat heard it. As soon as this roar went off, it was about 70 yards from us, if that far. But when that roar went off, that boat kicked up. Wah! He was gone. He was out of there. He didn't want nothing to do with that sound. It sounded like, the old King Kong movies, and
Yep.
then you have the T-Rex on Jurassic Park. If you were to combine those two sounds, that's what it sounded like.
Wow.
And it just rattled. It rattles your chest, rattles you, and it was amazing. And I'm sitting there when this sound. I had my 12-year-old son with me, and there was a couple other people. And when this sound went off, I'm analytical, and so I started analyzing this sound. Okay, how aggressive is this? How aggressive was a dadgum roar? Couldn't get much more aggressive than that. And so we take off. I said we had cameras set up, and 2 spots to start the fires up in case something happened. Well, something happened, and we left everything there and started on the way out, and I sprained my ankle on the way out, hit the dirt, and we was all going out. And one guy he took point, and I was leading up the back. And then my son Luke, he turns around and looks at me. He points. He says, "Are you hearing this, Dad?" And this thing's coming through the brush, ripping stuff up. And we got what's it called, stormtrooped out of the area.
Mm-hmm.
And that was there was a lot more detail that went into it. And I told him, I said, if I'm going to come back down here, I'm not going to be on the ground, because this was way far in. There was a boat ride and then a long hike into the area. And I said, I'm not going to be in here and exposed. So I said, if we're going to do this, I want to be up in the trees. So we built a huge research stand down in the area, and it held 6 people, and you could sleep in it. It was awesome. And I don't know, you may have seen that, Billy. I don't know, but yeah, there was a lot of fantastic things that took place there, and we was trying to become habituated with them on their turf, on their territory, and it took a long time to get to where they would even come up to the stand, research stand. But then they would start throwing stuff at us and make sounds, and you can hear them coming through the creek. Sound like a whale coming through the water. But
Wow.
a lot of footprints, and I learned a lot there. A lot.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought about building a research area in a tree before. That's a pretty good idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad to put you above the scent level, and it kind of gives you some security too.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And it was covered. It was covered. The guy I was researching with, he was pretty handy. He made it to where if the wind blew the trees, the research stand would actually just float on steel beam or steel holders, and the 2x4s would just slide like this, or the 2x12s. And so you didn't get, it was just a nice, easy ride up there.
Wow.
But, yeah, pretty ingenious idea.
That's pretty slick. I like that. Yep. I know it's been probably about 40 years since your first encounter in 1984. Do you think that research has gotten better, or do you think research has gotten worse since then?
My honest opinion.
Yes, sir. I'm honest. I'm an honest guy.
Well, from what I've seen, it's gotten worse. I've always been I've tried to drive the point home. If you're wanting to solve it, you've got to document everything you find. Documentation is key. Write it down, type it, whatever you can do. And because you're going to go back to that documentation at some point in time, and you're going to say, hey, wait a minute. Connect this point to this point. Oh, there's your answer. But most people, I'm not trying to ruffle feathers, but most people aren't out researching and documenting. They're out experiencing. They're trying to get an experience or an encounter, which that's all cool. But I'll go out and with a group of people, and I'm sitting at camp, get all my scent put out that I use, and I'll just sit there. Everybody else disappears at night and goes into the woods. I'm sitting there, why are you going out in the woods? I said, they know you're here already. They know you're here. And you're going to go out there and make them all nervous and do whatever. Just sit here and let them come to you. And it always worked for me. I never had a problem. And now a lot of times they'd come in real close. Somebody called it counting coup, I believe. They'd sneak up, try and get as close to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are things that happen when you're out in their area, in their territory. And I've experienced this along with other people that I've been with. This was in the area where that research stand was. I may be going off topic here, but this is important. That we was in the stand and we all decided, well, let's go down and sit up on the ground. and there was a creek probably 15 feet away from where we were at on the other, where the stand was. And we'd set up our equipment on the ground. My wife had stayed up in the stand. It was 20 feet up. She stayed in the stand because she had a headache. And we had a real tall ladder going up to the stand. But we'd set up, and I'm sitting there watching across the creek, and all of a sudden I see these two moon-colored eyes, just milky-colored eyes, huge, real high up off the ground. And I lean over, I say, "You seeing this across the other side of the creek?" Just going back and forth, walking back and forth. Couldn't hear a thing, but you could see the eyes looking at you as it moved. He says, "Yeah, I see those." And all of a sudden, every one of us, there was 4 of us sitting down. Every one of us at the same time, we got to go. We got to go. We got to go. We didn't hear anything. We said, we got to go and get up the stand. So we start going up into the stand, and my wife hears the ladder rattling. And we told her, I said, if you hear something big coming up this ladder, kick the ladder down, which that was really a stupid idea at the time. But it was. And anyway, she heard that ladder rattling. She took the spotlight and she shined it down behind us, towards us, and she screamed, "Get up here. It's right behind you." One had snuck up within like 6 feet from us, so we didn't even hear it. And it was there. And she seen it. That was her first sighting. We didn't get to see it. But we knew it was there. Like I said, it may be a basic instinct, but at the same time, we all knew we had to get up in the stand. And that's a pretty amazing story. And it's happened more than just that once. And I don't think it's anything paranormal. I think it's some kind of a instinct that we have that we don't use anymore.
I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that's probably the first time in your life that you was glad your wife didn't listen to you and she didn't kick that ladder down.
You're so right. Believe me, I hugged her and kissed her a lot. A lot. Yeah,
that's pretty harrowing encounter. No,
yeah.
You mentioned counting coup, which is an old Native American practice. If you can touch your enemy in war without causing harm, that was counting coup. That was big medicine. That was something to be proud of. And you hear about this a lot. I heard a story, and I'm not going to get into where I read it at or whatever. But this one particular researcher said that they would come up and touch them and then just like disappear. And I wondered about that, if that's kind of, what they're doing, just kind of look how brave I am. I can touch this person and run away.
Mm-hmm. I would almost say that's exactly what they're doing. Maybe they have, I mean, this is speculation, but maybe you have a younger one. Maybe it's a rite of passage of some sort. I don't know. Okay, you got to go touch that man. And
I'm just be honest. I'm kind of in the camp that I think a lot of the stuff that, the scarier encounters and, like you said, the real up close encounters. Mm-hmm. I'm firmly in the camp that most of that is juveniles trying to, show how brave they are. Look, I'm a big boy. I can go out and do this.
Yeah.
So and it can get rough because it's scary. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely scary. It really is. And when they want to instigate, when they want to get to know you, or if they want to get your attention, and they do it. I've had them do it to me. And if you don't pay attention to them, they get mad. That's part of the habituation I was in, and it went way further. This habituation was the most in-depth thing that ever happened, and it was to the point of, I don't know if Billy's heard of it, but it was to the point of close to communication.
Mm-hmm.
Not verbally.
I have some questions about that too.
Yeah, it was amazing, and that study went on. The study was the Sasquatch Silhouette study. It went on for 4 years. Amazing stuff.
Yeah. All right, we're at the halfway point of the hour. So, Luke, you remember I asked you about your music preference?
Mm-hmm.
So we have made artificial intelligence create a song about Luke Gross.
Oh boy!
And the name of this song is "Gone Hunting." So here we go.
Dust on the trail, dusk in the air. Luke Gross wandering lost without a prayer. Footprints and sand, he's on the chase. Bigfoot's howling somewhere, no trace. Searching for sight. No sleep till dawn, just the moon is guide. Heartbeat races in the dark, he hides. Gone hunting in the Texas heat, chasing shadows where the wild things meet. Bigfoot's out there somewhere deep. Wanderer, secrets he'll keep. Whispers in wind, branches crack and break. Luke keeps moving, no sign of fake. Sweat drips down, face fear mixed with hope. Through the thicket, he fights tangled rope. He's seen the signs, he's felt the thrill. Mystery of the chase gives him a chill. Truth, a legend, he'll find his way. Under the Texan sky, he'll never sway. Gone hunting in the Texas heat, chasing shadows where the wild things meet. Bigfoot's out there somewhere deep. Restless wanderer, secrets he'll keep.
I tell you, AI is getting down on the guitar now.
Boy,
Tell you.
what genre was that?
I put in
like
there
country rock.
80s. But I put in 80s pop rock, but that's what it came up with. And I said, I like it.
I'm gonna tell you, that's
That sounded
pretty
good. I
appropriate.
appreciate that, Billy. That
That's
sounded real
pretty
good.
appropriate for East Texas. That's got kind of that Cajun twang to it.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
That Cajun rock. That's a good one. I like that.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
You want a copy of that, Luke?
Yeah, send it my way. That was awesome, man.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I like that.
The last one Billy did with me, I was tripping over logs. That was what it said. Gary's got a flashlight and he's tripping over logs. All right, I'm gonna get into some pretty deep stuff here if I can with you, Luke.
Okay.
I've never been a big fan of habituations, and usually when you mention habituation, the first thing I'm going to explain myself first. The reason I say I'm not a big fan of it is when you mention habituations, the first thing that comes to mind is somebody is carrying food out there to it like every day. And like any other animal, and I'm going to use a black bear for an example, okay? A habituated black bear is dangerous because they're unpredictable. they have lost their fear of mankind. And when that happens, that's when you have, rogue bears and everything else. And then if that human stops bringing that food, then they're going to start coming in closer to your area looking for food. Now, in your case, I don't know if it was a feeding situation or what. Why don't you explain your habitation to us?
Well, my habituation was not based on food. Matter of fact, it was based on them piquing my interest. I'll tell you the story how it started. It was in November again. I was out cooking some chicken on the grill. Barbecue chicken, my favorite thing. And I'm sitting there, and I have a fence row behind me. I don't know, maybe 35 yards, maybe not even that, maybe 25 yards. And I'm sitting there cooking, and all of a sudden a rock thud right next to me, right next to my grill, and I'm sitting down in front of it. And I said, well, I know what that is. And so I get up off from where I'm sitting, I turn around, and I walk towards the fence line. Well, on the fence line, I had an old plastic dog kennel, a real large one, huge one. Well, I just bent over, had some branches down there. I bent over and picked up these branches, snapped them, laid them, held them up, looked towards where I thought the rock could come from, and I showed them the sticks. And I put these sticks, and I placed them down on the kennel. And I went back to my business cooking chicken. Didn't hear anything else. Next day, I went out and looked at the top of that kennel, and those sticks that I placed on there had been changed into different shapes, different patterns. So I never, as far as food, mine wasn't about food. It was about communication. And now, if you didn't interact with them, they'd get mad at you. But it wasn't nothing. There was no food involved in it whatsoever. It was just all, I was trying to learn how I could press my luck with them as far as doing different things. And like I said, I would have told you habituation time, no way. And I wouldn't do it with food. And I tell anybody that I talk to, they're talking about, oh, well, I have some come up to the house, someone take the food. No, don't do that. Don't take food out to them, because like your explanation, you have a bear that comes up. Well, that bear gets used to it, and all of a sudden there's no food left. They get angry and they come in and looking for food wherever.
Yep.
But no food. Mine went on for over 5 years. And like I said, a lot of people I had some people that worked with me on this syllabic study, or I don't like calling them glyphs, but I call them symbols or syllabics. And this went on for 4 years. And I said, okay, in my mind, I'm saying, I got to prove this. I got to prove to everybody what's going on here. And I had photographs of everything that was going on. But the only photograph I didn't have was of the Bigfoot messing with the branches, the little sticks. And I said, okay, I want to put up a game camera. So I had an old lawnmower. The fence row ran this state, went this way, had a lawnmower down here. So I took the game camera and I strapped it to the back of this lawnmower. Well, and on the property, there used to be an old house set there on the property, and there was a little tractor, toy tractor, yellow one. I don't know, about 2.5, 3 feet long, just sitting there. But anyway, I come out to check my symbols. Nothing had happened. So I walked back to the camera, checked it, nothing. And I looked over there across that fence at that little yellow tractor, truck, whatever it was. That sucker was turned totally upside down, and all 4 wheels were sticking up. And I kind of made the conclusion, personal observation, that, well, this lawnmower has 4 tires, and so does that little tractor truck. And that killed it. I never got any more interaction. I had them coming up under a recorder. They would set under a recorder. You could hear them messing with the branches, breaking stuff. Heck, as far as that goes, I got them breaking wind one time. And there's I have that one recorded.
That it's funny you say that, Luke, because I tell everybody, some people are just scared to death, right? And they say, "Oh, these things are coming around." I said, "Set out some trail cameras. They won't come back."
Absolutely.
As soon as you put up a trail camera, dude, they are gone.
That's it.
Yep. Every time. And I knew that. But I was so dead set on proving what was going on to everybody that I ruined it. I got some eye shine, and I'd move the tree or the camera to a big old cedar tree we had. Excuse me. And I put it on there. Well, a little brown bat flew in front of the camera, and it set the camera off. Well, behind some brush and trees, two big old eyes looking. That's all I got. Nothing else. And I put game cameras up, hanging in the trees above the area I placed these branches. And they were like 20 feet up, hanging on a rope or a string in a box, facing right down over the area. Nothing. And I had them come, they'd leave tracks and break branches. They would crawl up. I had a garden. They would crawl up next to the garden, and it's like they were looking and listening. And it just stopped. And it actually upset me. I was so sad when it stopped, because you don't necessarily form a relationship. You form a relationship with what you're trying to do. And I was trying to have a solid form of communication. And we were getting close to it, but that ended. So, but there are ways. I've showed several people. I said, if you want to know they're in your area, I got one symbol. I said, go take this and put it out in your area and see what happens. And I've had people come and say, I can't believe this happened. What are you talking about? Well, the symbol was changed all up. Well, cool. I've showed it to you guys. You can take it and put it in your areas if you think they're active and see what happens. But I did that for 4 years, and myself and what was there, 4 or 5 other people. And the interesting thing was that you have all these structures. People are finding structures in the woods. I know some of them are made by hunters or people out there built in shelters, survivalists, but some of them are not. And you have vertical structures, you have horizontal structures that are built, and sometimes you can see in these structures, standing structures, there's certain patterns in them. If you look at these little symbols on the ground, they're the same ones that stood up in those bigger structures. A lot of time that happens in areas that has a lot of snow. So instead of having to uncover the ground and do this, they just put these messages or symbols, whatever they are, up in the taller structures that can be seen easier. Pretty amazing stuff.
And you said that little toy tractor was yellow?
Do what?
You said that little toy tractor was yellow?
It was yellow. Yep.
I'm going to say either Bigfoot got upset because you put the trail camera out, or he was just not a fan of Cub Cadet.
There you go. That's a good one. I like that. That's funny. That's funny.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the symbols. I know you mentioned using sticks as the symbols, and I spend a lot of time on podcasts, listening to podcasts, and researching guests and stuff like that. But in one podcast, you talked about the glyphs, and you used some Scottish glyphs, and they responded to that. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, it's called Ogham, and it's Celtic language. And there's certain ways you can lay the branches out, and it's what the response was from was a long form of Ogham. It has lots of branches, and one of my good friends, Tina Harder, she put these symbols out, this one, and she got a reply. I can't remember for the life of me what the reply was, but I know she got a reply from this. And one of them was one of the replies that was from a Mexican Indian tribe. They're from northern Mexico. And I'm trying to remember the name. I have it all written down. No, but it was the same as I believe it was the Hopi or the Navajo, but just from on the other side of the border, all the same. But I can't remember the name of the Indian tribe, but it said that, and I'm sitting there going, okay, that's interesting. But here's something interesting. One of the main things that when we started that study was I said it's very possible we'll learn the origins of where they may have come from. And one of the a lot of these symbols that you see on the ground are found in the same script. It's called the Vinca script, and it originates in Serbia. And there's 85 different symbols that are the same as the Vinca script, which comes from Europe, Serbia.
Wow.
85. I have all this documented. It was amazing. And there's other ones. You have another language from the area is called the Jelisabak. Then you have another language that was found in the Bosnian pyramid that's there. And two other, I have the videos are up on YouTube, but they're all from Europe. So tell me, how does this species know how to place these symbols that look identical to the symbols that are found in Europe? And those symbols, that script is over 5,000 years old.
Wow.
So
wow.
how did they? It's very interesting, and the study come to a close. It was too soon. It was too soon, but I enjoyed it. But it scrambled my brain. There was one set of symbols that it took me 3 weeks to not decipher, but figure out how they use these branches. 3 weeks, and it was a mental challenge. It really was. I have the videos up on my page.
Let's check that out. That sounds pretty interesting. We've got a question from the chat for you here, and I'll try to pull it up. Mick wants to know, question for Luke, are you anywhere near the big thicket? And have you noticed aggressive behavior in Texas Sasquatch compared to West Coast, which are much less aggressive?
Mm-hmm. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm about 4 hours north of the big thicket. And yes, the Sasquatch here are known to be more aggressive. I've been treated to some of that in the woods, roared at, chased out, and rocks thrown, stuff like that. Yeah, but if you go across the Red River up to Oklahoma, they're 10 times more aggressive than the Texas Bigfoot. That's no lie. Those suckers up there, yeah, those are scary. They really are.
There was an article that I read called the Choctaw War, and it was about the Choctaw Indians, and they actually went to war against a family unit of Bigfoot. And man, it was pretty. They was pretty rough stuff going on. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah, I had heard the stories. I haven't ever since you know how many books I've read on Bigfoot, and I pride myself in this. You know how many I've read?
Lay it on us.
Zero. I have not read one Bigfoot book, and you know why? There's a reason I said I'll never read one, because I wanted to learn all of this on my own. I wanted to and not have anybody's thoughts in my mind or their ideas or their research type. I wanted to learn it all on my own. It's kind of like when your daddy says, "Okay, there's the woods, son. Go out there and kill your deer." Huh? What? Then you got to read on that, or if nobody goes and shows you how to do it. But Yeah, it was something else though. I kind of lost my train of thought, guys. Getting old.
Don't feel like a Lone Ranger.
Yeah, but no, it's they're more aggressive though. Definitely here than on the West Coast,
Well,
and they look different too.
Mick kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. That was actually my next question was about the, and it seems like in Texas, there's, there's a pocket right around, the top part of Texas and Oklahoma and places like that, where there seems to be a lot more aggressive behavior. What do you think causes that?
There's a lot of theories on that or hypotheses on that. It's not a lot of people. I actually did a little study into it, and like in the northeastern part of Texas, on down East Texas, down further south, you have a lot of timber companies, and they got a lot of paper mills.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have a lot of these paper mills, and one of the main products that they slough off is mercury, and mercury causes major changes and causes mental problems with people, lack of digits in people. You have the Falk, Arkansas Falk monster, 3 toes.
Yep.
And why would it have just 3 toes? Not unless something was wrong, because the majority. Well, I've seen tracks over 3 toes, but they weren't a Bigfoot. They were something totally different. But I think, or it could be inbreeding.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was leaning towards. You take a small population and they inbreed, and you don't really know what the outcome's going to be. There's and once you have that inbreeding, that's where piebald deer originated at, was from a small remnant of white-tailed deer that was inbred, and then you had all these color variations and you had size variations and everything else.
Yep.
Wasn't that a 3-toed creature down there? I believe, was it Mississippi, or what was that? What was that lady's name? The monster.
Talking about the Louisiana lizard man.
No,
she's talking about the Honey Island swamp monster.
Honey Island swamp monster. That's
it.
Because I think that had 3 toes.
Yeah. Yep. And but there's a lot of things that it could be attributed to, I suppose. But as far as aggressive behavior, they're getting pushed into areas, that they can't. Humans are just encroaching and encroaching. In some ways, it's good. In some ways, it's bad. If you got somebody that's got a big ranch, and say the hunting season comes around, well, what's the first place that a Bigfoot's going to go? They're going to go to that ranch. They might not have hunting there. There's food, there's water, wildlife, and they can stay out of any of these other areas. So I'm going to cover that in my series of videos that I'm making too. So they take a huge advantage of our agriculture, huge, and just not just vegetation, but you got calves and corn, everything. But
and I'm glad you mentioned that, Luke. I'm gonna put your YouTube page up here on the banner so that people can check it out.
I don't have a lot of videos up there yet, but I'm working on them.
I'm working on it.
Yeah.
Well, while Billy's doing that, I'm gonna hit you with my next question. I try to ask all the guests this, and it's kind of weird, and I'll explain it as I go along. I don't know if you've watched the show before or not, but the question is: animal, mineral, or vegetable? Do you think that Bigfoot is a living animal, a true animal? Do you think that the mineral category? Do you think that Bigfoot might be interdimensional or extraterrestrial, or vegetable? Do you believe it has a spiritual aspect? Or do you think it might be a combination of all 3?
Oh my gosh, that question goes back for years. When I first started talking to other people, and I'll put it this way: anything I found, seen, heard is animal. Okay. However, I haven't seen any of these, any cloaking, anything like that. I've never seen it happen, but I can't say it didn't happen because I didn't see it. If
Mhm.
I'm the type of person, if I see it, I'll believe it. But if I don't see it, I don't know. But I'm definitely, I'll even take it a step further as far as the Bigfoot are concerned, or Sasquatch. I, they're a lot smarter than what people think. A lot, most people think anyway. Uh, I'm gonna say they're actually an ancient form of human, from what I've seen and what I've dealt with, and their intelligence is off the chart, really is. And I had one lady. I seen she had a chalkboard put up. I said, "What is going on?" See, I got a chalkboard up, and I just shook my head. Well, about 15 years later, I have a chalkboard up hanging on my tree, and I'm drawing symbols on there. Well, I go out the next day, and there's little dots drawn in different shapes on my chalkboard, and the and the chalkboard was up in the tree, or the chalk was in the tree, and so the chalk's taken out, done this, and the chalk's thrown on the ground. And then one day I
I
went
actually
out
saw
there.
pictures of that on your Facebook page.
Yeah, yeah, yep. But they're smart. They have a language. I've heard them before. I've had 5 people standing out in Arkansas, and we're researching the area. We just got out of the Suburban, and we closed the doors, and we're kind of looking around, and all of a sudden there's a conversation between 2 somethings that starts coming out of the woods, and we're miles away from everybody. This is in Arkansas woods, and it's a totally different language than I've ever heard. And it's like a male and a female talking. I can't do it, but it's a language I've never heard, and I've got some of it recorded. When my wife walks out of the back porch to get the dogs in, well, these Bigfoot would come up, not even 30 yards from my back door. Well, she walks out of the door. She says, "Come on, guys." And all of a sudden, just almost immediately, where I had my recorder, you could hear this deep guttural, like, words. Then that was it. And pretty amazing stuff. Now I will venture off topic if you hadn't noticed already.
I'm into like all kinds of cryptids and all kinds of stuff. Bigfoot is like the main thing for me, but I look into a lot of other stuff. What makes East Texas such a hot spot for Bigfoot activity?
Habitat and rain. There's so much that we get up to 70 inches of rain in East Texas, but the food sources that are available, if you stop in let's take for instance the mountain lion. We're not supposed to have mountain lions in the state of Texas, or panthers, but we've had one species of animal that's population has just exploded. It's went crazy. And the main population of this animal is in East Texas. And I'm not saying it's the only reason, but the wild feral hogs
Yep.
have exploded. What
Yeah.
a huge food source for Bigfoot and for mountain lions or any other predator. And you have the grapes, all the food sources that are here. It's crazy. I have a list of, it's going to be in my videos, of the food sources that are available, the different types of food sources, and the food sources that I've found they've been eating. We have a tree down here. You probably know what it is. It's called the honey locust tree.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the little beans that come off those trees.
Yep.
They'll take and strip those beans off the trees, and they'll eat the beans. I found branches just twisted and broken and pulled down on these trees where they've been eating the beans. And I looked it up, and they use cows. And these ranches are like 12, 13 feet up in the air, but cows eat the beans too.
Yeah.
For a filler.
I actually had some honey locusts growing in my field down here, and the cows stripped every one of the branches off of it, getting the beans off of it.
Yep. Yeah. Now Bigfoot will eat those, and never found them to eat a horse apple. Never seen that. Possums love them.
Osage orange, is that what you're talking about?
Yep. Yeah. Osage orange possums love those. They'll take them and put them up in they'll climb up in the fork of a tree and they'll sit there and eat them. And you go out there and you see little piles of horse apple up in the tree. But yeah, it's a lot of interesting thing that happens when you get out there in the field, and I don't know.
You can learn a lot just by studying the environment that you're in, as to what type of activity that you're going to have, whether it's just passing through or it's a semi-resident population or whatever. And my theory on it is it's based, just like you said, on habitat. It's food, water, and shelter.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And if there's water and food, they're there. If there's enough of it, and I think they could survive if there's enough water in West Texas, around the Big Bend area. There's patches of forest, not big forest, but there's still enough woods there. You have the Arizona Bigfoot. They've been sighted in southern Arizona around the Santa Rita Mountains. Hunters have seen them there. And me and my nephew seen something there one time and followed some tracks and went up to the edge of the mountains, and they got in the rocks and couldn't find it. So I've had several sightings.
Arizona's not really a big hot spot for them, and like I said, a lot of that has to do with rainfall.
Oh yeah, you up north of around the Mogollon Rim. It's like you're up in the high mountains there. It's snow, everything.
Yeah,
it's it.
And I think that plays a lot into it. I've said it on the show several times. A human needs about 1 gallon of water a day to survive. Okay, now you take something that's probably 800, 1,200 pounds. They may need as much as 5 or 6 gallons of water a day to survive. I'm an old Marine. I'm a vet. I was in the Persian Gulf War in the 90s. And over in the desert, it reached temperatures like 140 degrees sometimes. And we would drink about 5 gallons of water a day just to stay alive.
Yeah.
So, it depends a lot on the environment, the temperatures and everything like that. But I think there has to be some type of permanent water source. I'm going to fall back onto the old Boggy Creek. He always follows the creeks.
Always follows the creeks.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And that's the truth. You got water and food, they're there. And
the wild hog thing that you was talking about too, I'm guilty. I read a lot, but I have read, I couldn't tell you how many encounters where people have encountered Bigfoot hog hunting. And it's in Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, places like that.
Yeah. I heard a story of a kid. He was in this one area where we put up that big research stand at. This one kid was hunting down there. He was hog hunting. He'd killed him 2 hogs. Excuse me. And he leaned them. He cut their throat and he was bleeding them out. And he leaned them on the bank of this little swampy area. Well, he heard something coming. He said, well, I got more hogs coming up. Well, he kind of backed off. Well, it wasn't hogs. He had 2 Bigfoot show up, and they chased him out into the water. And they grabbed his hogs, turned and looked at him, and strolled back into the woods with his hogs. And the kid was terrified. There were so many stories that come out of that area.
Yeah, I think that's a prime food source for them. The wild hog population. Well, Billy, that's all I've got for tonight, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, Luke. You hung in there to 8 minutes after the hour, so at least he didn't wear you out. Yeah.
No. I could honestly go for a lot longer. I have a lot of information.
Sure.
Like I said, I've got that series of videos coming out called Texas Bigfoot Looking In from the Outside.
Yeah.
And I'll have the first one out in about 2 weeks. So.
Yep, and I put that up. That's your direct YouTube page right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if people copy that down, they can go in there. And I think you're right. I think I saw maybe 3 videos or something like that in there right now.
2 or 3 up right now, I believe.
Yeah, 2. There's 2 up there.
Yeah.
Oh, there's going to be a lot more. Trust me. I've got a lot of information I want to get out there and share with people. I'm
looking forward to it.
I'm doing it.
Yep.
The only reason I'm doing it is I'm not getting any younger, and if I go in the dirt, all that information is going with me.
Yeah, it'll be gone.
And I want somebody to know,
Yep.
What happened.
Yeah. Yes, I hear Mick's in here. Mick said it, and other people said it. They want us to go to a 2-hour show. We're getting old, Mick. we got to get some sleep.
I hear you.
My wife's bedtime is usually like 8:30. I'm pushing the limit right now of getting knots on my head.
Oh boy.
Well, Luke, we certainly appreciate it taking time out of your day to be on here with us, and hopefully we'll invite you back again, and you can come and tell us a little bit more, because I know you got tons of stories.
Yeah, I got a lot of stories.
Okay.
And I like telling them.
Good deal.
And I appreciate you having me on, Billy. I really do. And it was nice meeting you, Gary.
Yes, sir. You too.
And now, Luke, can you hang on while we close out the show, and then we'll come back. Okay. All right. I want to thank everybody for coming in today. Let's see. Goodness sakes, that chat was on fire again tonight, Gary.
Blowed up.
I'm scrolling forever. I can't even get to the top of it. So we had Jeff D. Smith, George Garcia, David Maddox, Digger Dog, Nina Davidson, Robert Swindle. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, let's see. Goodness. Soundwave 1.
And the Meatloaf Man.
Yeah, Meatloaf Man Mick. Just a word of caution, Luke. Don't ever accept Meatloaf from his ex-wife's mother.
Ever.
Just word of caution. Tennessee Cherokee, which is Brian. Slaughterhound. Let's see. So we got some new guys. We got some new people in here. We appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm sorry if I missed somebody. I apologize, but it's a long list. I'm just going down through it. But Jeff D. Smith, all of you guys, we appreciate you being on the show, listening in. And if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to our channel. Doesn't cost you a dime, but what it does give you is an alert as to who our guests are coming up. So that way you don't have to look for it on social media or whatever. And please like our videos. That helps a lot. Helps to get the word out. Please share our page. If you're on our Facebook page, share that. And today I created on social media, on Facebook, I just created an actual group page called Bigfoot Sasquatch Podcasts. So share the podcasts on that page where everybody can get to them and watch them. And some people enjoy doing that. So just letting you all know. But other than that, I'm glad y'all joined us. We will see you next Monday.
The 13th.
The 13th. And we're going to have the 2024 Bigfooter of the Year, Todd Prescott, will be on the show. So tune in for that. And until then, you all have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.